Mists of Pandaria Classic has recently released, and I am super hyped for the expansion. When Mists first came out many years ago, I was pretty young and only really did quests, random dungeons, and battlegrounds. But now I'm super ready after playing Cataclysm Classic, and we're going to be following the journey of my Shaman Bloodshock as we tackle the leveling and endgame of Mists of Pandaria. As you can see, we do have some gear to start off Mists of Pandaria. I leveled it during the pre-patch and did a couple of raids of Dragon Soul, just so I could have a smooth first couple of levels in Pandaria. To begin with, however, we're actually going to hop into a couple of dungeons to start us off with an XP lead and some good gear. Now, I'm not leveling on my Shaman on launch day. I did that on my warrior, my main. If you were there on launch, you'd know Jade Forest was basically unplayable. The first quest couldn't even be turned in, so I actually dungeon spammed with some guildies for the first level and a half or so. But with my Shaman, I intend to do quite a bit more questing. To begin with, we enter the Stormstout Brewery, a dungeon set in the Valley of the Four Winds. The brewery was overrun by Hosen, Vermin, and Brew Elementals. The first boss, I'm actually too slow to get in the room and I'm left to collect books for a dungeon quest. The next boss, however, we're in for, Hoctolus, occasionally summoning vermin, fixating on a player, and spewing out a carrot breath. Being a normal dungeon though, it's a very quick fight. The final boss now is Yan Zhu, with actually a variety of mechanics. Afflicting players with a couple of debuffs, some jumping mechanics and immunities, pretty interesting boss. These quests give us a pretty nice boost to XP and gear. We queue right into Temple of the Jade Serpent afterwards, where the Shah of Doubt is breaking out and corrupting the temple's inhabitants, like Wise Mari, which is honestly not very interesting, at least on normal. You kill 4 elementals very slowly, and then just dodge this slow, rotating beam the boss is spewing out. Moving on to the library, we take down some Shah and hear a tale from Lorewalker Stonestep. This can be one of 2 bosses, and this time it's about a young girl and these 2 strange creatures. You're meant to attack one at a time and swapping before the stacks get too high or else the pulsing damage gets too unbearable. Past the library we move to the courtyard, where this Pandaren monk has been corrupted, so we take her down. The final boss is the Shah of Doubt, who has a dispel and a mechanic to take down some fragments of doubt while the boss is immune. Completing these dungeons and quests, as you can see, gives us a pretty nice boost to our experience. This is a good plan for leveling speeds because if you didn't know, Jade Forest is actually horribly inefficient time-wise. It is a beautiful zone, and if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend Platinum Wow's video on the zone. But I'm going to be permanently raiding on my Shaman and he's not even my main, so I've got to keep speed in mind. But let's go over what we did do in the Jade Forest. We begin with flying to Hellstream's Fist, journeying through the mists against the Alliance in order to garner resources for the Alliance vs Horde war effort. We come across a temple occupied by Alliance forces who begin opening fire on us, so we open fire on them. Though we can't actually fire the cannons, the launch day was so busy they had to make the quest order complete, and I believe that it's still the case even when writing this script. Rappelling down, we take on the ground forces and destroy their supplies. Moving into the temple, we destroy barricades to move further up and confront the Alliance commander. Like the Kiowa Alliance member he is though, he retreats in a gyrocopter and the Hellstream Fist gets shot down, crashing into the land below. Nazgrim, being obviously pretty mad, is overcome with Shah influence, though quickly saved by his Taran Zhu. The Shah are remnants of the old god Yasharaj, who feed on negative emotions and corrupt those who can't control them. It's why the Pandaren often live peaceful lives, practicing meditation and other disciplines. Bringing our war here, however, only adds fuel to the fire that is Shah corruption. So we deal with what we can here, but it is only of minor concern to the Horde and the War Chief, defeating the Alliance and gaining resources being our priority. We regroup with members of our forces in the nearby Honeydew village. After some brief introductions, we head into the forest to seek out Xinjun, who has his eyes removed by the Hosen. So, as revenge, we kill a lot of them, and at the same time we sketch out some drawings of these broken statues. As Xinjun passes, we take down the local big boy Hosen as our forces move in. We then begin an assault on a nearby encampment of Alliance soldiers, who have also enlisted the aid of some local Pandaren, who didn't know what they were building. They just wanted to help and were subject to pretty terrible working conditions. We move even further in and find the Alliance captain that retreated earlier, and he is overcome by Shah energies as we take him down. Nazgrim offers Taran Zhu a place in the Horde, but he, quite understandably, declines, so we're in need of allies. For now though, we head down to a lake and collect some flowers and supplies which are later turned into weapons. I didn't quest here during launch day, but apparently it would take people hours just to do these 2 quests. Brutal. Using a gyrocopter with some poison chakrams, we take out dozens of the nearby local hosen from above, before taking to the ground and slaying the very large Duke Ukum, which instills fear in the hosen, causing them to flee from us rather than fight. We also visit the Shrine of the Sun and Moon, and in doing so we meet Lorewalker Cho, a Pandaren who tells us a tale of his people and the Mogu, teaching us a lesson in how those who rule in fear fall quickly when those under them resolve. So we take a different approach to the Hosen. Instead of instilling fear, we decide to aid them in local affairs in hopes that they may join our efforts. We rescue some Hosen from some nearby crocolisks and bring a nearby leader some fish. In doing so, we garner some trust with them. We're tasked still with taking out a fearsome nearby tiger, collecting bug legs, and even repelling Alliance troops which were assaulting the Hosen. We talk to Chief Karkar at Gruken Hill, and it seems like we've made some allies in this new land. We call in our Horde troops and dispatch them shortly after on orders from General Nazgrim. At a nearby river is a feud between Jinyu, a race of fishmen, and the Hosen, and we learn that the Jinyu are actually allied with the Alliance, so it looks like both sides have gained reinforcements. Back to Gruken Hill, we collect some turtle steaks and fish to feed all of the troops when the scouts we sent out earlier have returned and with a prisoner, so we're keen to see what tales they have. Rico, the Hosen, tells us of how he and Sergeant Gorok found a hut with a bunch of lifelike jade statues, though when confronting the Pandaren inside, she turns the orc into jade and Rico escapes. Kieran tells us of how they went south, where Shakira gives her cover fire while scouting. Kieran finds a campfire with a young Alliance soldier, who they take captive. Rico tells the next part where the three of them scouted out a crashed Alliance plane. Rico has had enough of Shakira bossing him around and just wants to follow Kieran in, who he has gained some feelings for, which is a good thing as it was an ambush, and Rico defends the Shademaster from Alliance soldiers in Jinyu. In return, Rico asks for a kiss from Kieran, and she agrees. But when removing her mask, Rico was startled and off-put by Kieran being forsaken, which he didn't know beforehand. Shakira then recounts how her and Kieran infiltrated a Jinyu village, taking many of them out and planting explosives. However, in the village, Kieran becomes trapped, and Shakira can only snipe so many. But Rico has had a change of heart and comes to the aid of Kieran. Together, they all make it out. As Nazgrim looks closer at the Alliance prisoner, it turns out it's actually Anduin, Prince of Stormwind and son of King Varian Wren. Afterwards, we take out some Alliance spies which are trying to infiltrate our defensives, as well as using Goblin improvised explosives to repel incoming Jinyu. With Gruken Hill safe, at least for now, we venture onto Dawn's Blossom, meeting all sorts of Pandaren, but I decide to go to the nearby Tian Monastery, which is a place where all Pandaren monks go to train at some point. We speak with the elder who tells us all about his students, teachers, and how the monastery operates. We help out with some monastery upkeep for the groundskeeper and training some of the students, as well as ourselves in various forms of combat. And in doing so, we ding level 86, only 4 more levels to go. I decide to finish up just a few quests at the monastery before heading on to our next zone. I pack my things and leave for the Valley of the Four Winds, a large chunk of Pandaria known for its farming. And here's a fun fact: due to its waters coming from the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, the valley has the best soil for farming in the entire world of Azeroth. We find Chen Stormstout and his niece Lily on our way to Pang's stead. We help Pang and some other local farmers by clearing out vermin, marmots, and regathering stolen fruits and vegetables, using Miss Fanny to relocate some goods. Moving a little further into the valley, we gather various stakes and collect some lost little pigs that have wandered a little too far from home. We meet up with Pandaren cub Francis, the shepherd boy, who's having troubles with the local wildlife, so we help him out, dealing with some of the nearby wolves and hawks to protect the farm animals. Travelling further again with Chen and Lily, we meet Mudmug, who we also help with his troubles concerning the local vermin. We gather some ingredients for a paint gun to make turnips look like carrots, which fools the vermin, hopefully deterring them in the future. Taking a slight detour, we move just a little south into Krasarang Wilds, but only for this one little hub, Krasarang being another fairly inefficient questing zone. Here at Zhu's watch, the residents are feeling off, a little down, so we, with the help of this Hosen, investigate. We find Yimo, who's feeling so helpless he can't even move, so we literally roll him back home, fighting off vultures. We also gather some ingredients for potential medicine to help cheer up these Pandaren, though the medicine doesn't do a whole lot. So we start gathering some panther fangs for another old Hosen recipe, and at the same time, fend off some Sorok that are wandering probably a bit close for comfort. Ken the Hosen makes a mask and we put it on some Pandaren and it actually kinda works. It dispels the negative energy into a manifestation we can then get rid of. Though we have to take special care of Yimo as he is feeling the most despair, and a large Shah manifests from him which we take down. But with that, we have aided Zoo's watch and returned to the valley. We move a little north, helping out the residents at the glade of New Cyphera. Nothing too serious, just collecting materials for fishing and ingredients for cooking. Sometimes as shaman we get to do really big pulls like on these turtles due to ancestral guidance doing so much healing. Our next stop is the silk fields in the south. This is where the Pandaren, with the help of silkworms and moth, creates silk. Although the creatures have started to rebel weirdly, attacking the farmers, and it's spearheaded by the massive Mothelus, who we can see carry off farmers, so it's time for them to go unfortunately. Once we're done here, we move to Half Hill, which is where most of the Pandaren farmers are in the valley. We help Farmer Yoon, who's just inherited a small farm, to build it up and get it ready. This is the farm you've possibly heard people discuss when talking about Mist of Pandaria. Bringing up your reputation with the tillers increases your farm size and lets you grow all sorts of food and even other materials. We then head up north again to the glade. I've missed a quest here, which is to take down some creatures which have gotten a bit too big and are messing with both the ecosystem and the locals. While we were doing this all in the valley, we've been taking Lily with us to see the sights and explore, while our Uncle Chen heads to the Stormstout Brewery to try and reconnect with his family. However, this doesn't go so well. He retells us of his time there. He tries to talk with Uncle Gao, but he responds exceptionally rudely to Chen, and he has to defend himself against a large elemental. Chen pursues Gao, but he still says no, even calling Chen's beer horrible. That's quite the insult to a Pandaren. I still remember fetching ingredients for Chen's beer back in Warcraft 3. After taking out a random Hosen, Chen pursues once more, but is promptly told he is unwelcome at the brewery. So Chen takes his leave. The crew heads to Half Hill, where Chen decides to make a bangin' beer. With Mudmug, we gather some glade water, and we go to the northern farms to collect some hops. But we need to help those locals first in order to get them, so we do that. Fending off vermin, harvesting and watering crops, plucking weeds, usual farmer stuff. With Lily, we go to a nearby mill, fending off some tricksters that are causing problems and collecting different grains for the brew. But with all our ingredients, Chen whips up a whole lot of his beer, and we start taking them down to the brewery. We try to enter the brewery, but it seems closed off. Chen tries knocking louder, but we then turn to see a massive Hosen behind us. This is the first boss of the brewery, by the way. All sorts of chaos has erupted. Hosen and vermin everywhere, and Pandaren getting trapped in barrels, which we of course help clean up and sort out. We then aid Chen, Lily and Mudmug with clearing out some of the brewery, each encounter featuring a large elemental or Hosen with slightly differing mechanics. A pre-ad phase for Chen, bubbles and shields with Mudmug, and Lily with some barrel tossing and bananas. At this point in the story, you then head into the dungeon with the group, but we of course already did that, so moving on. Close to the Serpent's Spine, the great wall that separates the Mantid and Pandaren, there's been a breach, leaking into the Valley of the Four Winds. There's a few different farmer families here, so we have to help evacuate them, taking down the invading Mantid at the same time. And in doing so, we have hit level 87, and this is where we are actually going to be ending today's video. Questing a Pandaria is actually really enjoyable, and to anyone who hasn't tried out MoP Classic yet, I can only recommend. Next time we'll be journeying to more lands of Pandaria and tackling this Mantid threat more head on. Until then, thank you very much everyone for watching, and thank you for your patience in this creation. I'll see you next time.